always be mindful of how is this going to be built. The number one thing that people miss here, by the way, which should always be your primary focus when it comes to construction design, is drainage. Literally, how do I get the shit out of the building? It should be your primary focus, because it's always the one that gets missed. Everything needs to lead back from your main drainage. We'll talk about falls and ratios that you need to do in your drainage, but it's a number one focus, especially in major construction. How is that shit getting out of the building? Because unlike water, which can be pumped anywhere, unlike electric, which can be routed wherever you want with cables, drainage is the number one thing that relies solely on gravity and solely on how your pipes are laid. And you are constricted by those regulations and how physics works. So drainage, always, early doors, focus on drainage. Your next focus should also then be on utility connections, because they've got massive long lead times, which again, it will be another episode just on its own where I'll talk to you about utility connections on major builds, how I've done it, the lessons I've learned. But if we talk about drainage for now, so the construction design, we should obviously look at having all your team involved quite early doors. So structural engineer, your MEP engineer, you've got your architect, you've got all sorts of different people that need to be involved in that design stage, because it all has to be coordinated together. You make sure you're always doing overlays. So one mistake, which I'll talk about when I'm actually at this building, one of our, my biggest in terms of value, my biggest development in Leeds City Centre, one mistake that was made was when we were coordinating our drawings with my in-house design team, they were overlaying drawings in a 3D model, but they missed one of the sections where steel, so we're working in an existing building that had existing steel, but we were adding 7 levels to the building, which meant we had a substantially more steel frame to add. We had to retain the steel that was already in place and work through it. So we thought, we spent 6 months coordinating the steel frame. Everything's working. It's going to go around the floors. It's going to go around the steel. We're absolutely fine. Get onto site. We have a clash on the existing steel frame where the new steel was come up. We've done all the piles, we've done all of our foundations, we're literally building the steel frame. The fabricators and the connectors got to the point where it was clashing with some existing steel. That mistake cost me £580,000, and that mistake came from one thing, and it was myself obviously taking responsibility. I should have looked at things in more detail, but the main reason was the architectural team, when they were coordinating the steel, they missed a section off. So they were looking at overlays. A section is where you cut out a part of your design to look at it from certain views. They missed one view which showed them where that clash was going to happen. So on every other view that they looked at, it was fine, there was no clashes, which was right, but they missed that one section detail where that clash happened, and that was an absolute fortune to redesign. Remember, this was a big building, £40 million GDV. It's over 113,000 square foot. We're adding more storage to the building than it actually had in the first place. So the steel engineering and design was the most important part of the build, after getting shit out of the build, obviously. So that is a very, very costly mistake, which is why the construction design is your most important element. And then going further on construction design, we have, in all major countries in the world, a very protracted regulatory process, which means there's a lot of people getting involved in signing off your regulations. And the UK is one of the worst in the world for this, because of the amount of people that have to get involved in signing off a design of a building before you can even start. This is why this process has to start very quickly with all stakeholders involved. As soon as you press the button on buying a building, you need to start this immediately, because that same building which I just talked about, which I'll go on to when I'm actually in the UK and I'll show you the building, the process time for that through regulatory process, putting planning permission to one side, because we all know how that goes, just the building regulations and approvals took, with a team of, I think, 8 people we had from the start, all different professionals, all stakeholders, to get our final approval before we even started building, was over 2 years. That's fire regulations, building regulations, all of our sprinkler systems, all of our utility connections, all of that coordination was 2 years in construction design before we got the final approval. The fire officer, the main one which takes the time, the fire consultation, on its own was 18 months from start to finish. And that was with very minor amendments needed, and it was still 18 months. So get your construction design right, because it will kick you in the ass. So what we're going to talk about now is drainage, getting the shit out of the building. First thing you need to focus on is obviously what you're building with. where you are, what ground is, where the main sewage is. But I'm going to talk about some basics, and that is what you'll probably hear a lot is the fall of your pipes. So your fall of your drainage is very, very important, which you need to understand. So the fall is usually done in a ratio. So you'll probably hear things like 1 in 50, 1 in 80. What is that? Because it probably sounds like algebra to someone who doesn't understand. What that basically means is, let's take a ratio of 1 in 80. For every 80 units of horizontal length, so every horizontal length, so if you've got a shit pipe that's running either outside in the ground or inside your building laterally that's going 80 metres across, you need 1 metre of fall. So what that basically means is the start of the pipe is up here, that should be 1 metre higher than this point here. That's your fall. So 1 in 80 means every 80 units, whatever you want to use, whether it's inches, millimetres, metres, whatever it is, every 80 units, it needs 1 unit of fall. So 80 metres needs 1 metre of fall. 80 millimetres needs 1 millimetre of fall. 80 inches needs 1 inch of fall, and that's how you do it. So a lot of your drainage that's a British regulation thing. It'll be different in different countries, but it's vaguely the same. So when you're running a pipe horizontally, that's what you need to do. So 2 pipes that you need to be mindful of. Let's stick to the main ones in residential. So your sinks, showers, kitchen pipes, they'll usually be 2-inch pipes. So you'll be draining from 2-inch pipes, and they need to go back to a main stack. So this is whether it's a smaller office building, whether it's apartments, multi-dwellings, or whether it's a single house. Those will run into a main stack, we call it, which is your main pipe. So that 2-inch usually, as a rule of thumb, will go into a 4-inch stack. So a 4-inch 100 millimetre pipe is usually your main pipe that goes out. And that usually from an upper floor or from blocks of flats, you'll actually look at those stacks quite early on because you'll want several things coming into that stack. And how that stack is measured in terms of whether you're going for 4-inch, which is the standard in residential, or it needs to be bigger, is all calculated from the amount of shit going in it. So we'll stick to the 4-inch for now. So the next question you're going to ask is, well, Nathan, on a multi-dwelling building or in my house, that stack runs vertically. So how does that ratio work? Well, Sherlock, that ratio works because of something called gravity. When a shit pipe is going directly down, gravity is only pushing that shit and piss one way, and that's all the way down. It's not getting stuck anywhere. The whole force of gravity in physics is pushing it down. When you're running something horizontally, gravity is pushing it down again, but it's pushing it into the pipe because your pipe's running horizontally. So yes, you can get away with a steep fall, which is obviously 1 in 1. If we're looking back at the ratios, it's falling directly down. So there is no fall ratio. It's going directly down because the gravity is forcing it down, so it's okay. So your next question is, okay, why can't we do that with horizontal? Why can't we have more fall? Why is it so strict on having only 1 metres in 80 metres? Well, that is because if you're getting what you're getting out, which is 2 key elements, think of it as a race. So you've got piss and shit going down a pipe. It's a race, 2 athletes racing. When they're going down a pipe, if that's too steep, what's going to happen? That super athlete that is piss, which is very fluid, is going to outrun the shit. That shit then is going to get stuck on that pipe because it's too steep, it's got no fluid, it's more solid, it's stronger, so it's sticking to the pipe. So you having too steep of a fall means that you actually could cause a blockage with your solids. So that's why you always have to keep to that fall ratio. And like I say, because of the power of gravity and physics, straight vertical breaks all rules because gravity will look after everything. That shit is very, very, very unlikely to get stuck on the side of a pipe because the gravity force is so much pushing it in one direction. So that's a key things for drainage. And like I say, when you're looking at a floor plan, you need to be looking at things like back-to-back toilets, back-to-back kitchens. So let's say we've got a big tower. Let's say we've got 4 apartments on each floor, and you've got, let's say, entrance, forgive my drawing, entrance. What you really want to do is your bathrooms, your kitchens, you want it to be close together and you want to be sharing stacks in this party wall here. So you want to be sharing stacks. So even if they're side to side, even if you need two ways, when it comes to your service corridors, because remember this used to run vertical all the way up the building, what you don't want to be doing is creating different ones all over the place, because then that's all penetrations through your floor. So those vertical stacks could be all over the place. That doesn't work. It's going to absolutely ruin the build. It's going to be very costly, and also structurally, when you have to go through all of your floors, that's now going to have a structural effect on your concrete floors, steel floors, whatever they, timber floors, whatever they are. So that's why you always want to back-to-back your stacks. Even in a smaller dwelling, I try and do that because it's more efficient, and it means you're cutting through more, but especially when you're doing multi-dwelling, because every floor is a cut-off for that dwelling. So you've got called party walls, but also the floor is a party floor. So you need to hit acoustic ratings, fire ratings for that each floor. So every time you cut through that is another weak point. So you want to minimize it and make sure we're all running to the same place. And equally, if you've got a problem, that can become a service void where you've got access panels on each floor and you can get in there and sort the problem out. So when it comes to basic design, even early on, like I say, try and back-to-back things. Always think about the route, thinking about those elements, those key rules that I've told you, which is your falls, your verticals, your size of pipes and what the falls need to be, to make sure we're going into one place at ground level. And then from ground level, so now we're on the ground, say things coming back here, you're going to have something outside that it needs to go. So let's say our main sewage is over here. We've got these pipes now that need to run horizontally, and that's where we're going to be more mindful of these floors now, because at ground floor or just above ground floor or in basement floor, that now needs to start running across and to out here. So you'll also start looking at your own manholes here, and again you need to look at your falls, and all this you need to be obviously use, especially on a bigger development, you need to be using specialists to calculate this, but you need to be mindful because everything's your responsibility, remember. So make sure your engineers are doing these calculations and it all works fine. And I have seen this throughout my entire career where architects in particular, great at a lot of things, not so great at other things, they are not mindful of this and how things are coordinated. So you need to, every meeting, talk about coordination. That should be number one on your DTM, we call it, which is design team minutes for your meeting. Number one on the agenda, coordination of services. That should be the first thing you talk about, because it's very, very important. Once you get onto that build and you're starting, you'll have variations galore, which is another commercial term where you think you know what your costs are, and then suddenly these things don't work that have been designed on paper. Your contractors, your engineers are saying, yeah, that needs changing. There's your 10 grand bill. There's your 80 grand bill. There's your £3 million bill for that variation. So spend time here. The more time you spend on pre-construction, the less time you spend on construction. It's the most valuable investment you will ever make. I know we all want to get onto site. I know we all want to get it built. I know we all want it done and exited as an investor. But if you spend 6 months, 12 months in pre-con and pre-design, I promise you it will pay dividends in the long run.